Hello, good morning, my name is Damien, the tall, friendly atheist dad, and host of the Tall, Friendly Atheist Dad podcast. Wherever you are, whatever you happen to be doing, and just wherever you are, whatever time of day it is, and all that kind of stuff, I hope you are doing well, feeling fantastic, because we are about to dive into You Can Lead an Atheist to Evidence, but You Can't Make Him Think. Answers to questions from angry skeptics by none other than Ray Comfort. Hit the music.
So far from lies and hypocrisy, with thirst to energy, and silence make us breathe. Don't ask me the reason why. Just say I only dream in black and white. Future's nothingness, but I can choose another end. Opening my eyes, and you beginning in my life. Without emptiness to feel, I am sure of myself. No mercy until the end.
Thank you very much to Victim of Illusion for the music coming from their album Invisible Light. Go to victimofillusion.bandcamp.com and purchase their album Invisible Light for a very reasonable price. Support independent artists and just listen to some awesome music. So it's probably a little bit too early where I am, that's why I'm stumbling over my words. And yeah, for a little bit of a background, there is 10 hours of fractal animations from Electric Sheep. So enjoy some pretty visuals while you listen to my slightly monotone voice. So anyway, this is another reading series I've decided to start because, hey, you know, I've effectively got a day off work. So I may as well do a little bit of reading and maybe give you something to fall asleep by, all my friends in America, and the kind of people who are winding down on the other side of the world as well, and all that. But no, another book to read. If you go to my YouTube channel, go to YouTube and search for the Tall Friendly Atheist podcast. I do lots of reading of books. I've got a fair few on the go. Probably my favourite one at the moment is The People of the Abyss, a book about life and poverty in the early 1900s in England. There is also Why I Hate Religion by Creflo Dollar. There is I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist by that other rabble-rouser, Frank Turek. I've got Bible Defense of Slavery. I've got, just a whole heap there. So if you want some intellectual atheist commentary on various books of a religious nature, whether it be an atheist or a Christian nature or whatever, then this is a jump onto the YouTube channel, subscribe. I feel like saying I've been shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, but I've just got really shitty subscriber numbers, so that's my problem there. But anyway, so the format this will go is I will read, and as I read from the book, I will have music from the band Victim of Illusion playing, because they're really cool guys, and then when I stop and give my personal commentary, I will stop the music and I'll obviously give you my personal commentary. Brilliant, hey? Alright, I'm going to start the music. Okay, this song is called A New Beginning. Well, it is because I've started a new book. Genius. Okay, so this is the introduction. Let me just touch it down a touch. Okay, this is the intro. And also, by the way, if you do want to leave comments, I will periodically look up and look at any comments that have been displayed. If you want to jump in and join the reading, feel free to. All that kind of stuff. Anyway, 3, 2, 1. Introduction. To be an atheist is to play Russian roulette with all barrels loaded. An atheist can't win. Of course, he feels and acts like a big player until the trigger is pulled. The issue isn't the existence of God. If the atheist is wrong and there is a creator, then he was wrong. He gambled and he lost. No big deal. The real gamble is that there's no hell. That's what makes the player sweat just a little. What if? Is the deep and nagging doubt. He believes it's worth the excitement of the game. Yet atheism isn't a mind game. It's intellectual suicide. We know that there are 6 bullets that aim right into the brain of humanity. And with that, I have already found 5 things to respond to. This is probably going to turn into another. I don't have enough faith to be an atheist with that book. I can barely get through a paragraph without my blood pressure rising and some coming across something that is just teeth grindingly stupid. But anyway, yes. Okay, so according to Ray Comfort. Sorry, this is my morning voice. So my post-wake up pre-coffee voice. Get some coffee later on. So where it says to be an atheist is to play Russian roulette with all barrels loaded. An atheist can't win. Of course, he feels and acts like a player until the trigger is pulled. Well, okay, so atheism is, at its essence, at its essential core, atheism is simply not being convinced deities exist. Any deities whatsoever exist. It doesn't necessarily entail that the supernatural doesn't exist, because I do personally know, in my family, I had people who were atheists with regards to deities, but they were New Age spiritualists. So yeah, how you work that one out is up to you, but there is that. Hold on a sec. Put the music on. I'm just gonna do something. Alright, sorry about that. Just had to, my Wi-Fi's a bit patchy and I have to jiggle some things. But yeah, so, what's he got here? Yeah, so, what was I saying? So, so family members who were New Age spiritualists without being atheists, so yeah, they'd be uncomfortable at a church. And they believed in weird things that happen, but they just didn't ascribe them to deities because there were other spiritual forces at work. It's just not necessarily intelligent spiritual forces, but just, let's say angels, if I call angels, yeah, intelligent spiritual forces. But yeah, so, and so then where he goes, the issue is in the existence of God. Like hell, like hell it isn't. Yeah, this is the thing. Even if we were convinced that deities exist, and in particular one specific deity who has a lot to do with Israel, even if we were convinced that that deity existed, it's a long way from this deity exists, all the way to therefore you must worship it on pain of eternal torture. And don't say there's not eternal torture involved, because Ray, in his very next sentence, uses that threat as a motivating factor, because he then goes, if the atheist is wrong and there is a creator, then he was wrong. He gambled, lost, no big deal. The real gamble is what if there's no hell? That's what makes players sweat just a little. What if this deep and nagging doubt? So Ray obviously believes in the concept of a loving God that will torture you for eternity for not believing in it. Which kind of says a lot about not just Ray, but anyone who follows that line of fundamentalist Protestant theology. And this is something I was saying to one of my close friends yesterday, is that Ray Comfort is, he presents as this, very effervescent, very, lively and funny and self-deprecating, and has a bit of a laugh at himself. But inside, he hates atheists. Inside, he, has a loathing for them. He just wants to, he has this thing where he feels superior to them, and he's like telling us what we think. And it's just I'd say bad, condescending anti-atheism, and that is an episode in the podcast that is coming up, by the way. So stay tuned, people. So and if there's a creator, well, who's to say that the creator is indeed God? Why can't the creator be aliens? Why can't the creator be Zeus? Why can't the creator be Marduk? Why can't the creator be Aten of the Egyptians? Why all of a sudden is the creator God, this specific God, and to the arrogant exclusion of every other deity around? It's just, it's hilarious. But then, it's the things, and just on hell. The other thing is that I will mention hell in arguments on Twitter, because that's where all proper theological discussions are held, on Twitter. I have had Christians come back to me who are annihilationists, who don't believe in the concept of active, constant, eternal torture. They just believe that when you die, your consciousness ceases to exist, and that's it. And those who are saved have their consciousness keep on going. So that's an interesting little thing. But yeah, birdies outside, nice. So yeah, he believes it's worth the excitement of the game. Yeah, atheism isn't a mind game; it is intellectual suicide. Well, no, atheism is simply a position in regards to claims of the existence of deities. So you say, "Oh, a God exists," and we'll go, "We don't believe you." That's the essence of it. And no, I don't feel like a big player. I actually, one of the things that helped me with my atheism is realizing that I am just one man in a society. So in my home city of Melbourne, I'm part of about 5 million people. In the state of Victoria, I'm a part of about 8 million people, something like that. In the country of Australia, I'm part of 26 million people. In the world, I'm one of 6 point something billion people. I am just a man. I don't have that much power. I'm not in government, all that kind of stuff. I don't have any superpowers. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So to say I feel like a big player, no. And just on that, the idea that you're an atheist because you don't want to be accountable for your actions. Well, wait up there, Sonny. I'm accountable to my actions to my family. I'm accountable to the judge. I'm accountable to the police. I'm accountable to local government authorities. I'm accountable to the state authorities, to Australian federal authorities, to international authorities. There's so much authority that I'm already subject to, that the argument that I'm an atheist because I don't want to be accountable for my actions is complete and utter bullshit. To be frank, in this case, be not Frank or not Ray. In this instance, So then he goes into. Okay, so I'm just getting my thoughts together. This is a bit of a ramble. I did read this before and had some thoughts and all that kind of stuff. But so, the other thing is he really relies on Pascal's wager. A lot of Christian apologetics really relies on Pascal's wager. What if you're wrong? And then you can reply back, well, what if, dear Christian, what if you're wrong? Oh, but I've got a book. So the Muslims have a book, the Hindus have a book, the Buddhists have a book, the Baha'i have a book, the Scientologists have a book, the Mormons have a book. Everybody's got a book. Just because you got a book doesn't mean. And the problem is it's an argument based on the bastardized version of Pascal's wager, because even in Pascal's wager, the actual argument for Pascal's wager is actually quite long. There's like so many different premises in there, and one of the premises is saying that we can't know for sure if God exists. So when people like Ray go, hey, God definitely exists, and then he uses a Pascal's wager argument, he's actually, like, it's kind of proof that he hasn't read Pascal's wager. He's just using like a bastardized version of it to try to say, well, you know God exists, but what if you're wrong? Well, in the original version of Pascal's wager, one of the premises is we don't know for sure if God exists or not. So yeah. Anyway, let me go into his 6 bullets that aim right into the brain of humanity, which is like very nice mental imagery. Thank you, Ray. Number 1, creation. Could you believe that the book you are holding came into being without an author? There was nothing. No paper, no ink, no cardboard, no editor, no author. There was nothing. And then a big bang changed everything. Time. The magic ingredient. Produce a book with a cover, binding, coherent words, page numbers, and chapters, all in perfect order. Such thoughts are truly insane. You cannot have order without intelligence creating order. And there cannot be an ordered creation without an intelligent creator. And I'll read the second one as well. Number 2, the God-given conscience. All sane people have a conscience. It comes with the package. It is an inbuilt judge in the courtroom of the mind. It makes moral judgments, even when its voice is not wanted, and its voice only addresses that which is moral. It doesn't speak when my tie doesn't match my shirt, but it does speak when I steal a tie from a store. Why is that? Where did the conscience come from? Why do all civilizations have the knowledge that it's wrong to lie, kill, and steal? Our social surroundings may shape the conscience, but they don't create it. It is the inner light that God has given to every one of us, and it leaves us without excuse for our sin. Okay, so I'm going to comment just on these 2 points. Just on these 2 points, I think Ray gets so many things wrong. So many things wrong. It is... It's either hilarious or scary or both, depending on your point of view. So the first one in his first bullet into the brain of humanity. Thank you very much, Ray. I really think you could have chosen your words better. Creation. Could you believe that the book you are holding came into being without an author? There was nothing. Well, that is correct, because we know books don't come into being without... they say books are not a product of nature, they're a product of an intelligence. Then he goes, there was nothing, and then a big bang changed everything. Time. Produce a book with a cover, binding, coherent words, page and chapters, all in perfect order. No one says that big bangs produce books. This is the thing, and this is probably one of the arguments where the use of the word order is, how can I say, it's a bit like faith. You know, you say the word faith, and faith can mean a few different things, but yeah. So order is, how can I say, so what's he got here? So it's more that the universe works. It's not so much that it's ordered to work. It's not like a car with all these finely tuned little bits. Basically, everything in our experience of this universe is to do with the inherent properties of the universe. It's not designed, unless you want to confront some very, very, very awkward. Or some awkward counterpoints. For example, radiation. Radiation will kill you. For example, X-rays. If you're near uranium that decays, that uranium will kill you. Just trying to think what else. Even the sun, too much sunlight. We now need sunblock to, especially the white people like me who have very, very fair skin. We need some sunblock to prevent our skin from getting burnt, to prevent skin cancer, things like that. Cancer in children. Did God create the cancer in children because it's so ordered? Cells just don't come together by themselves. No, it has to happen. A big bang doesn't. There was nothing, and then a big bang changed everything. Time, the magic ingredient, produced a cancer with cells and metabolism and replication. But of course, the argument doesn't work that way because cancer is a result of the fall. Of course, yes, it just happens to be that everything good is a result of God, then everything bad is Satan or the fall did it. Thank you very much, bad fundamentalist Protestant evangelicalism. Boy, and this is the thing: books are not self-replicating organisms. This is the big thing. This is one of the things that fundamentalist theological persuasions forget, is that books, cars, houses, bricks are not self-replicating organisms. And the cool thing with the self-replicating organisms that we have is that we can trace their lineage back to other self-replicating organisms. We have molecular clocks, we have mitochondrial DNA, we have endogenous retroviruses. There are so many different ways that we can. There are so many different ways we can trace the changes in genetic frequencies in these self-replicating organisms that we can. And even if it was created, okay, so what? Why does it have to be a who that created it rather than a what? Because everything we see in nature is the result of other processes. So I can just imagine Ray Comfort being in back in Roman antiquity, and a volcano goes off, or thunder, or an earthquake, and he goes, "Well, you can't explain that. Look at the order in the volcano. It must have been a god." And if Ray was in Roman antiquity, he'll probably go, it was Vulcan. Who was the Roman god of, if he was in Greek times, I think, was Vulcan Greek or Roman? I forget. But so Vulcan was one of the gods of volcanoes. Or if he was in Scandinavia, he'd go, Thor is the god of thunder. Or Wotan is the god of battle. There's so many things we can't explain. So I'm just kind of losing my train of thought here, especially with my coffee. Man, it's a tough life. Yes, but now we know these things, and we see very little need for a deity. But so the idea of a created deity. So what I'm saying was that things in nature come from nature. They come from processes that happen that we don't. I admit we don't understand everything, but that just because we don't understand everything doesn't mean, hey, it must be a deity. It has to be a deity. It has to be my deity. It can't be someone else's deity. No, that would be, don't be ridiculous. And I'm currently being in a spat with a guy, with a Christian fundamentalist who has his own podcast. I won't mention any names, but I got into an argument with him once, and he got angry at me for suggesting that Marduk of the Babylonians was as good as Yahweh of the Christians. He got upset with me because, how dare you suggest that Marduk is the same as Yahweh? The historical evidence is, there's nothing like that for Yahweh. Well, just because you have books, mate, doesn't mean squat. Oh boy, so it's a very common creationist argument as well. It's, look at all the order. Well, look, yes, things work, yes, but they've had 14 billion years to work. It's not like we're looking at something straight out of the box. We are literally Johnny-come-latelys into a movie that has been playing for a very long time, and we are now walking on stage in this particular time in history, and we act like the world was made for us. No, the world was not made for us. The earth is protecting us from the universe. The universe wasn't made for us. The universe is trying to kill us. Actually, no, the universe isn't trying to kill us. The universe doesn't care if we live or die. That's the thing. There's only one planet that we're able to live on. One planet we're able to live on, and only on the surface of that planet. Not just the surface, but the lower 5 kilometers of that surface. Otherwise, the oxygen runs out. And only on 30% of that surface, because the other 70% of the surface is covered by water. So if God really did make this Earth for humans, why can't we breathe underwater where there is the most oxygen, and the most the most mass is in the water? That's what I don't get. But when theology is your standard, you Anyway, and then number 2, where he goes, a God-given conscience. All sane people have a conscience. Now, that is interesting that he says that. Not every sane person has a conscience. Psychopaths are sane, but actually not every psychopath is a wanton murderer. There are people who are diagnosed with psychopathy and they have, clean criminal records. They're not manipulative. They're not inherently evil. All psychopaths are people who lack empathy. Like, I'd say like a deity, but yeah, it's a bit of a low blow there. But yes, I agree that conscience is a thing that comes in as part of our human existence. Our brains run consciousness. Because what we notice is that when we are sleep deprived, when there's been too much alcohol or prescription drugs or brain injury, that conscience suddenly changes. Or when we're in a heightened emotional state. For example, you wouldn't normally punch someone. Well, okay, I wouldn't normally punch someone, but if someone was threatening my children or my family, I'd be in there with fists and probably weapons as well. Are you then saying, which is then actually interesting against the idea of morality being given to us by God, because if a morality given by a deity is universal and applicable for all people at all times, then there should be no way that you have all these grey areas, like for example, self-defense. Oh, hello, Chris. It's so would you steal a loaf of bread? Well, you'd steal a loaf of bread if your family was starving. And there's a big difference between stealing a loaf of bread to feed a family and stealing $1.2 million from a potential investor to fund your lavish lifestyle. They're completely different. But there are preachers who would say that those two things are the same. And those people are idiots. Okay, so then here we go. It is an inbuilt judge in the courtroom of the mind. It makes moral judgments even when its voice is not wanted, and its voice only addresses that which is moral. Not really. Not. Yes, it is a moral arbiter, but it's not. How can I say? Like he uses this example. It doesn't speak when my tie doesn't match my shirt. But then let's say that you're going to a convention where, how can I say, wearing a matching tie and shirt indicates some particular disposition. So let's say you go to meet with your friends, and there is an accepted standard that people who wear matching ties and shirts are, how can I say, I want to be sensitive about this. No, I'm going to say Nazis. Let's say if you wear a matching tie and let's say if you're wearing a matching tie and shirt, you are not a Nazi. Then let's say you are a Nazi, and you're afraid of coming out about being a Nazi. And then, you know, you wear your not matching tie and shirt and you go to your convention of mates and, you know, is it then right? So actually, no, that is a bad example. If I could scratch that, I'd scratch that. No, but let's just say there was a moral situation in which we're not wearing a matching tie and shirt, like no matter how ridiculous it is, you know, could be a moral thing. Let's say you walk into well, actually, here we go. Let's say you walk into a victims group of people who have been swindled out of millions of dollars by people in suits and ties, you know, and then, you know, is it right to deliberately meet up with people who have been harmed by people wearing suits and ties? Yeah, like, as I say, yeah. So I lose my train of thought here. Yeah, like if you're going to meet with people who have been swindled out of millions of dollars and have had their life savings wiped out by people in suits and ties, I think then wearing a suit and tie might, and you reasonably suspect that wearing a suit and tie will, you know, make people so wary to not even talk with you. Is wearing a suit and tie, you know, the right thing to do? I think that could even be a moral judgment there. And yes, it does speak when you steal a tie from the store. That's good. However, it doesn't speak all the time. It's a bit like, for example, like let's say that I know nothing about theology and I decide to have sex with my girlfriend. And I feel no compunction about that. And I don't think, you know, it's, you know, is that then okay if my conscience doesn't say that it's wrong to have premarital sex? It's, you know, you can then make the argument, oh, but your conscience is seared, or, you know, your conscience is corrupted, but then how do you determine that? That's the thing. Or let's say, actually, this is probably an interesting one. This is a bit of a moral hypothetical. Let's say you have two children, you take them out to a restaurant, and you say to one child, okay, if you behave yourself during this meal, I'll get you ice cream on the way home. Then let's say you have another child and you say to that child, if you don't be quiet during this meal, when we get home, I'm going to severely beat you. Now, let's say both children, you know, do the best thing in not creating a disturbance. But to me, there is a moral equivalence there. Oh, so not a moral equivalent. There is a moral problem there in that both kids are doing the right thing, but one of them is doing it for the wrong reasons. You know, I would say that rewarding someone for good behavior is a good thing, but brutalizing someone for bad behavior, especially out of proportion to the initial offence, that to me is immoral. But then your conscience only goes so far. And then to say that, well, God put it there, yeah. And if you look back at the Aztecs, the Aztecs didn't feel bad about. Well, actually, it's funny. Like the Aztecs, was it the Mayans? You know, the ones who ripped the hearts out of people to sacrifice to their gods. I was going to say, like, you know, they had no moral compunctions about, you know, sacrificing people to deities. Actually, they believe that sacrificing people was their God-given duty. So now, what then do we say about conscience there? And it's interesting that he's got this line here. Why do all civilizations have the knowledge that it's wrong to lie, kill, and steal, etc.? But no, not every civilization has the knowledge that it's wrong to lie, kill, and steal. For example, the human sacrifice cults, tribal warfare. You know, the idea that someone else has your land, especially if there's some sort of historical injustice, that needs to be rectified. Yeah, you know, stealing is okay, and okay, just getting word that Gillan McLaughlin is set to step down from. Okay, interesting. Yeah, and then lying. Well, actually, lying is an interesting one because there's there may be times when you need to lie, but but I suppose the point I'm trying to make is that not every culture throughout history has had the same prohibitions or the same compunctions about things like lie, kill, steal, cheating, or all that kind of stuff. And I suppose this is actually argument against a God-given conscience, in that if God did give us a conscience to evaluate these things, then why is it so different, and why is it able to be shaped so strongly by things outside of God's control? For example, abusive parents. Abusive parents will give you they will make you walk the straight and narrow. All that kind of stuff, though at the cost of much psychological harm. It's interesting. Anyway, it's been about 30-something minutes, so I'm going to end the reading here. So there's a lot, as I'm saying, there's a lot to get through in these kind of books, and I think Ray's going to turn to another Frank in that, the amount of bad argumentation we have to respond to is exponentially increasing. But anyway, I've been Damien, the Tall Friendly Atheist Dad, host of the Tall Friendly Atheist Dad podcast, and you can find my podcast, just search up the Tall Friendly Atheist Dad podcast. It's available on Apple, Spotify, Google, a few other podcast platforms. Check me out on Twitter at TF80pod, Facebook, TF80pod, the website, www.tallfriendlyatheistdad.com, victimofillusion.bandcamp.com. But until next time, look after yourselves, stay safe, be kind. This is the thing, be kind. Even if you disagree with someone, be kind.